we're now going to add the landing gear. Now to get this on just right and get it nice and level and everything sort of lining up nicely, there's a few little ways of going about it, but we're going to start by cutting our bits off the sprue. This is our wheel, right? I've just cut that off. As you can see, there's no paint there. I'm just going to get off most of what's left of the tab. Right, but what I want to do, which I find is kind of cool, wherever my sanding stick's gone, here we go, getting out a sanding stick, right, what we're going to do is just kind of make a flat top. So I'm using these nice sort of flat sanding sticks, right, and I'm just going to make a flat top. It's just something, you know, where this is where it sits on the ground, right, it doesn't matter, there's no paint on it. Right, and by just having that bit of a flat top, it just kind of makes it look like it's cushioning down rather than it like there's no air in the tyre sort of thing. So it kind of represents having that bit of air in the tyre, and it's a good point to know where your tyre is actually going to be meeting the ground. So a little bit of a flat top just there. Right, now these are a little bit sort of tricky, but we can sort of glue this, well, sorry, not glue in our wheel just here, not at this stage, right, because it's you've got a little hole just on our wheel well door just there, which actually lines up with the center of our hubcap, right, and that sandwiches it in, so it's a bit fiddly to try and find it. Right, hopefully I've got it just there. Just going to make sure it's on. I do recommend wearing gloves at this stage because we have done all this weathering, and you could easily sort of like smudge it with a finger, and if you smudged it with a finger, well, you're just going to end up leaving fingerprint marks and that kind of stuff. Now this is really fiddly to try and get it in the hole. Right, I finally got it back, got it in the hole, took a little bit of playing around. So getting out some Tamiya extra thin cement, what we're going to do is now just glue these, little bit of glue in all these points where it goes onto our landing gear. Right, but I'm not actually going to glue the wheel in place. Right, so what you'll notice is this will still spin, which is cool. Right, I'll just flip that over and give this side a glue as well. Then you want to leave this to dry a bit, right, because we are going to put some weight on it, so I want to leave this to dry for just a little bit. So while these landing gears have been drying, I have been going off and getting some of our navigation lights. The way I like to do it is I like to sort of paint, you know, whatever colour they're asking for, blue or red or green, actually on the inside. So when you actually look through these indicator lights, you kind of see this kind of blue tinge or a red tinge, and I've done that on all of them. I've even gone off and sort of painted it on also where we're going to sort of glue it on, so the paint isn't on the outside, it's on the inside. I just personally think that's a little bit better. Right, now when it comes to gluing in our landing gear, I'll just sort of show you if I get this on right, you can't get in the wrong way around. They are a little bit on the wobbly side, so I've kind of placed these, I'm trying to get it in this side, let's get it in. We place these in, and hopefully what you can see, there's a little bit of wobble to it, and we want to get it lined up just right, all nice and square, so we're not sort of like aircraft's angling. I've got some nice super glues here. We've got these are from Pen Models, a local hobby store. Medium super glue, you know, pretty sort of standard, right? But we've got things like thick and thin, right? These can be quite good for doing these kind of areas. So what we're going to do just here, I do believe I've got to chop the top off. Right, as much as it might be tempting to actually use straight from the pot, I do always recommend a super glue applicator. You know, any sort of pot that I kind of just pour this on, and this should be a really nice thick super glue. If I just try and get it out, right, I mean you could probably see sort of how thick it is by how it sort of droops down, right? And this is what you're after, something thick. The whole point of it being thick is it takes a little bit longer to dry, and if it takes a little bit longer to dry, it means we've got a little bit more playing time, because the only problem is with with sort of gluing it, these landing gears, you kind of need to put it actually on the landing gear to actually line it up. Now I'm just getting my super glue applicator. I'm just burning off a bit of old super glue so it works a little bit better. And what we're going to do here, right, is I'm just going to get a nice little blob of this, right, and we're just going to place this where it's going to actually glue to the model, right, and because it's thick I should be able to just quickly place this in. Right, so I'm just going to get this actually the right way around, place this in where it just nicely slots in. I'm hoping it will. And once I've slotted it in, I'm just going to very quickly sort of line it up with a Mark 1 eyeball as best as I can. Right, quickly get out the next one because we've got time, because it's thick super glue. Right, we don't need loads. Right, 'cause super glue's gonna, you know, glue quite nicely. Right, and we can add some more later. So I'm just trying to again get this in. It's in. Then I'm going to try and just sort of line it up the way the instructions say, right, and then we should be able to put it on all threes. Right, oh no, I've stuck that to the top. But yeah, okay, so I'm already looking at it. I'm like, this could do with being maneuvered. Right, so I'm getting down to the table, Mark 1 eyeball, making sure that's looking straight. I want to look at this angle as well, making sure that they're lining up, which it does look like it is. I do like to get out as well, and I've got to be quick, as I say. A little paint pot, right, nice little paint pot just here, and I can sort of gauge the height, and then I'll move it to the other end of the tail, and if that lines up the same, we haven't got anything like this going on, it's just nice and straight. Right, and because we've used that super glue, we've had the time to maneuver and play with it, I can then nicely leave that to dry a bit. But what we could go off and do now is we do also have thin super glue, so we can get this out as well, because the cool thing about the thin super glue is it's kind of think of it as Tamiya extra thin cement. Tamiya extra thin cement has that capillary action to suck in to those hard to reach places. Right, we have just glued this in, we've got it lined up. The thick super glue, I only put a bit on there because we don't want loads on there just to line it up, but now we want to add enough super glue to give it that strength. So with this thin CA glue, I can basically just touch where the join lines are, and it should just nicely suck in to those areas where we need it to give it the strength now. So I do that both sides, right, and that should dry pretty quickly, and we can like now crack on with this nicely lined up. So that's a good way of sort of getting your landing gear nice straight where it needs to be, using the different types of super glues for that particular application. So now we can move into my favourite part, which is putting a nice matte coat down. For this, I'm actually going to be using the Mr. Colour UV cut. It's their flat, super clear varnish. I've decided to use this just because I've been trying to get so I always use, where's it gone? I always use the matte UV varnish by Winsor & Newton, but I haven't been able to get it in store and get it in stock, but I can get this in, and I've heard lots of good stuff about it, so I'm going to give it a try for this build. Now you want to thin it about 50-50 with the Mr. Colour thinners, right, and it's a nice simple task of just, you know, the good old, let's put a light misty coat down, right, so you kind of hardly see it, get those leading edges, right, and what you should notice by just putting that quick sort of little coat down is you start to see the surface getting a bit mattier and less shiny, and I do like this stage because it brings everything out, all the weathering, all the spraying we've done, it kind of brings it out and brings it to the way it's going to look, because at the moment it's all shiny, which is not really the way you want it. And that should dry pretty quick, but I'll cut to air just to give it a bit of a dry. It was only one little misty coat. I'm then going to now give it a normal coat, and a normal coat is where we spray this down, and it's where we start seeing it looking a bit wet, and then we just move along this nice wing section just here. There we go. So there's a nice little first coat, which hopefully you'll agree is giving us already, even though it's a little bit wet, right, as you could probably see, it's starting to give us a nice matte finish and kind of giving us a bit more sort of a nicer look to it, rather than it be all shiny like this side. Probably 2 coats should do it, and then you want to sort of really sort of make sure this stuff dries. I haven't really used it much myself, to be honest with you, but I'm assuming because it's more of a, is it a lacquer based or enamel based? I think it's lacquer based. It's, you know, you've got to be careful on the drying times, not like you would with things like the acrylics that you see behind me. So I'm going to go off and finish spraying all this with that final matte coat. Right, after putting the Mr. Hobby UV cut matte down, really, I mean, it's the first time using it, and you know, it went down, it went down nicer than actually the Winsor & Newton stuff. You know, it dried really quickly. It's given us a very matte finish, hopefully, as you can see. If there's one thing that's maybe slightly niggling at me, is it almost seems like there's a little bit of a white kind of frosting over it. Maybe that's just me, I don't know if you could maybe tell. I don't think it's that bad. I don't think it ruins the model. I think I need to do a bit more testing to just see if there is a bit of a white frosting going on, but still looks really good, really sprays very well. I'll be testing that more later. I'm just actually removing the canopy masks at the moment, right? And the way I do this is I kind of get a nice sort of sharp blade, and we just sort of like get a corner and very carefully try and just peel it up, but we're really not wanting to touch the actual clear part, hopefully, as you can see there. And once we've got it pulled up, we can come in with the tweezers and don't rip it off, right, because we don't want to have the canopy around it, the paint, peel up with it. So I'm sort of going around with it very slowly, peeling that up, as you can see, like that. If you do have any of the paint around the edges peel up with it, this is potentially, maybe you've put down a bit too much gloss, too thick a paint. You know, you've kind of built it up so much that it's created a very thick layer, and it kind of comes off with the masking tape. So if you do have that problem, that is probably 9 times out of 10 the cause of it. I do also like to sort of, as I've peeled this off, just check the canopy. Right, I am sort of looking over here, and I did notice there's been a bit of overspray just there. This is where a cocktail stick, and if you just nibble the end, right, so it's made the wood not so sharp, it's kind of softened it, a little bit wet. And what you can do is you can just sort of very lightly scratch at this little area here where we've got a little bit of overspray just there, which hopefully you could see that's now removed that. And anywhere else you might find bits like that. I also like to then come in with cotton wool bud, a little bit moist, and we'll just sort of clean up the canopy area, right, and it should remove any sort of mainly kind of like the wash. The wash can sort of get underneath the canopies, and we're just sort of cleaning up those areas, right, just to put that shine back into it, remove any of that residue maybe left over after the masking tape, just to get it all nice and shiny. And I'll just do that, the rest of that off camera. Another thing we have with this particular kit is when we come to put the propeller on, right, it's very sort of loose. As you could see, it's sort of flopping about. It's not going to really stay on there by itself. You could glue it in place, but I tend to like to have the option of being able to just place it on a nice fit and leave it at that, because these propellers are the kind of thing that's going to break first. Little tip, actually, we do have the PTFE threaded tape, or plumber's tape, or whatever you want to call it, and what I like to do, right, is just get a nice bit of this off. Right, so I'm just going to cut a little bit, because we don't need a lot. We just need to make that diameter a little bit bigger. Right, so I'm just going to cut a nice thin bit. Right, probably better if I had a sharper blade, well, a new blade. Right, and then we could just get that up and get some tweezers. Right, and what I'm going to do, it's a little bit fiddly, this is, right, but we're going to take where it goes on, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to get you on camera with this, because it is, as I say, very sort of tricky just to wrap it round. Right, but trust me, it does. Right, maybe 2 sets of tweezers might do it, but I think you get the picture. We're just going to sort of wrap this round, which I'll just do quickly off camera to save you the pain of watching me trying to get this on. Although I think I just have got that on. So I've got one round wrapped around, and what I'll do, getting out some scissors, right, once may be enough, so I'll just cut that, right, and then hopefully you could see, we'll just get that last bit wrapped around. Hopefully you can see we've got a bit of that Teflon tape. We may need to put a second layer on, but hopefully that's enough. Yeah, we're going to need a second layer on there, and then that should fit nicely. And so there she is, all nice and done. Hopefully you've enjoyed this series. Hopefully I've kind of like changed things up, hopefully with getting you new guys sort of on board and seeing nice easy ways of doing things, and for all you pro guys out there to have a nice, easy, fun, fast build, just to have for the fun of it. Yes, overall this kit has gone together, as you've hopefully seen. It really went together very, very well. I mean, Eduard, fantastic surface detail. You just cannot grumble at that gorgeous, gorgeous surface detail that you get from Eduard. It's just the best that you can get out there. I had no real issues with the fit, nothing major, no major filling, sanding, scribing, anything like that. You know, the fun of it was being able to go off and do this, you know, all round same color, right? No need to be masking up, doing camo patterns. You know, I know the engine cowl's black, but that was separate. We sprayed it separately, made the spraying easy. The deckling, I mean, not major decals going on with this kit, so it was nice, quick and easy. If you remember with the cockpit, I don't think you're going to be able to see it, but you know, because we've close the canopy, it just stops our ability to be able to really see in there and be able to really sort of focus and see the detail, you know. So we, instead of us spending hours and hours and hours, you know, building absolutely fantastic cockpit and maybe sucking the life out of it a little bit, you know, we did it really nice, quick and easy, and closing that canopy has really sort of restricted our view in there, and it does, I mean, sorry, I mean, you can't really tell on the camera, but looking at it with a Mark 1 eyeball, you know, because we've got a little bit of photo etch in there, just concentrating those big pieces, leaving all the little pieces aside to keep it quick and easy. I mean, it does look cool in there, you know, and this is a perfect kit for the beginner or somebody who wants to have a quick, easy build, just because of the way it is. But apart from that, hopefully you have enjoyed it. Hopefully you've been sort of following along. For those of you on YouTube kind of watching my little free little clips, I mean, the full video series is over on the Genesis Models website, and for all you members out there, hopefully you've been enjoying the full video series. So apart from that, I'm going to be moving along with the next step by step, which I already know what it is. It's going to be a Harrier. I'll let you find out the rest of the details later on, but a nice modern RAF type aircraft of the Harrier. So looking forward to building that one next, and hopefully you'll be looking forward to seeing it. So apart from that, as always, until next time, my name is Bobby Waldron, this is Genesis Models, and I'll catch you in the next step by step.